Afternoon, guys. I'm Dave Canterbury with the Pathfinder School, and I just returned from Smoky Mountain Knife Works doing bushcraft and self-reliance type demonstrations over the past weekend. And one of the things that I did was I took my forge down there and my anvil, and I created this small packable draw knife from a file. And I posted some pictures of it, and I got a few ideas from people, and I came up with a couple ideas myself to make this a more versatile woodcrafting pack tool. One of them was to make these loops a little bigger so that it's not just something you can grab with your hand to use, but you could also put your thumbs through it, like the draw shave that was found in the Massamir tool chest, a Viking tool chest from the 9th or 10th century. So I thought I'd make these loops a little bigger to allow that. And then if I make the back of this a 90-degree edge, I'll also be able to use it for a cabinet scraper type device, as well as a draw knife, or a spoke shaving type device, as well as a draw knife. And if it's hard enough, obviously it can be used as an emergency flint striker. So it will be a very multifunctional tool. Now I put a fuller in this piece using Lee & Hoffman's fuller tool, and I did that, number one, for decoration so it would look nice, and number two, because when you put your thumbs on top of this to rest them on top of the tool, you can lay them right in that fuller, and it gives you really, really nice control. And these two stick-ups go right between my fingers, and this thing just gives you beautiful control when you're carving like handles or bows or anything like that. So it's a really nice packable woodcrafting type tool. And I thought I would duplicate today with a few modifications and see how it works out, but I thought I'd do it on video for you guys. Stay with me. Okay, so we're going to use an old file for this. So the first thing we're going to do is draw out our tails. And I'm going to start with about as much material as it is to the edge of my anvil to the back edge of my hardy hole, and see how far that draws out to begin with. We'll kind of go from there. Now I didn't measure the original one, but we're going to need a pretty long set of tails here. So I'm already thinking I'm going to have to back out a little bit further down this material. Now I started a little bit further back this time, but not a whole lot. I want to leave myself about 4 inches of blade, or thereabouts. So I don't want to get too far up on this piece up in here to get my tails drawn out. So I'm going to see what this draws out like. And I left myself just a little bit of room to maneuver if I need to come up in there some more. Sideways on the end right there. know I'm a little bit thicker on one side than the other side, for sure. But I really need to find out what my measurements are looking like before I go too much further, and make sure I got them pretty close. So we're going to about 5.5 on that side off the center line. On this side on center line, we're going to be at about, well, if I was straightened out, it might be close. 5.5 would be right there. Might need to draw this side out just a shade more, but she's close for sure. Alright, now I think we got our 1/2 inch that we were looking for there. Now we're just making sure everything's nice and flat and evened up. Make sure the tool lays fairly flat. Now we're going to start working on our carving face here, or our cutting edge. Alright, first order of business is to spread this out just a little bit. I'm going to do that a little bit from the bottom first, just like this. Nothing real drastic yet, just trying to stay even with it. Straight as I do it. I'm really not trying to create my bevel yet. All I'm trying to do is reduce the material thickness a little bit and start the bevel by spreading some of that material forward. Now all I'm really doing now is planishing the face a little bit with a flat die side of this hammer to ensure that I'm getting most of the file marks out of it. I want to keep it straight and flat while I do that. Now we're going to start bringing our bevel in here in just a minute. We have to draw this side out just a little bit to get him evened up. You know, some guys can get away with doing 5 things at once while they're forging. I can't get away with that. I'm too dyslexic for that. So I've got to get one thing right and then move on to the next thing. I'm just kind of working that bevel, but I've got to keep it straight at the same time, so I'm kind of packing the edge as I go, back down, and I got to keep the whole tool straight. So it's kind of a mixed bag you got to play with when you're doing this. I'm just trying to keep that bevel line even and reduce as I go. Okay, so I'm getting ready to change the game a little bit now because I've got it drawn out about where I want it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come around here and use the flat side right on the corner, the edge of the anvil like this. And now I'm just smoothing it out where it was bumpy from the round eye. Smooth it out. You want to leave yourself about a 1/16 of an inch there. It's not part of your bevel because you want to file that off. Okay, now you remember what I told you about that dyslexic stuff. Now it's time for me to just kind of straighten everything up and make sure that everything's flat the way I want it. Make sure my edge is straight. We only want this bevel on one side, so we're not going to go smacking on it over here. It's actually pretty good. Not worried about these tails laying perfectly flat right now because I'm going to be bending them in a minute anyway. I'm a lot more worried about how the blade is laying here. Is it flat? Pretty good. Now, this thing's still really hot. And that gives me the advantage of being able to hot file some of it. Because I haven't bent anything yet, nothing's really in my way to be able to do that. And I'm not really trying to finish anything. All I'm doing is removing some material off here because I'm pretty happy with where I'm at on this blade bevel. And this is just giving me another opportunity to look at it. As I file it, I'll be able to see any hollows that are in there where I don't have my bevel flat. So you can see there's a little hollow here and a little hollow here where the file's not making contact with the metal. Whether that's a big deal or not, we'll know here in a minute. It's probably not going to be because it's not real deep. Okay, so I've hot filed this now. It's still plenty hot, but I've left myself just a little bit now. I'm not trying to final file this thing at this point. All I'm trying to do is make sure the blade's straight, make sure everything's straight and ready to go. Now I'm going to go in and bend the handles and do all of that stuff, and then I'll do one more sharpening a little bit while it's hot. Then I won't do the final sharpening until after it's heat treated. But you can remove a lot of material very, very quickly by hot filing, as long as you're careful not to burn yourself. And a good mill file or a good bastard file will really, really eat some material off of there once you get it good and hot.